Just switch this on. Are you getting good sound? You're getting good sound.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and welcome everybody. My pranams to revered Akhanda Prana Mataji, who's there, and revered Dhyana Prana Mataji, and all the members of the board and the volunteers of the Ramakrishna Sharada's Vedanta Center of Phoenix for organizing this. So it's because of their planning and their execution that we are all able to enjoy this. And yeah. This is sort of becoming an annual feature. Yeah, and I look forward to this also. And they're already planning next year's. So. As Mataji said, this place is beautiful and this is a good time to come to this place. At other times you'll feel you're on fire. It is serene, it's beautiful, it is contemplative. So we take advantage of this. When we go away from this place, let's carry back a little of the silence and serenity of this place in our hearts. Most of us here have been studying or practicing Vedanta for quite some time. So I'm sure we all know what all this is about, what we're going to do here. Just some introductory remarks tonight, and then we will actually dive into the subject tomorrow. The retreat is titled Non-Dual Meditation and Insight, Non-Dual Insight and Meditation. It's about Advaita Vedanta. But I want to start off by saying, there is this caveat emptor, buyer beware. So there's a buyer beware about Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta has a lot going for it and a lot to recommend it. It is the highest and final teaching of the Upanishads. Upanishads are extraordinary texts in the history of human civilization. There's nothing quite like it in any literature of the world. They talk about our real nature in mystical poetry, in very grand terms about our nature. It's the highest philosophy, the highest mystical vision about human nature and human destiny of what we are. And Advaita Vedanta is a development of that. It's also, it's my favorite subject, so I can wax eloquent about it. It's the most direct presentation of the highest truth about us, about ourselves. It is also the most rational presentation of this. And the more I take it to various forums, when I talk with philosophers, when I talk with scientists, skeptics, atheists, I think there is only one spiritual philosophy in the world which cuts any ice, which gains some traction with them. Recently, I have talked to forums as diverse as the Vatican. I was there last month in the Gregorian University, which is about 400, 500 years old, the bastion of Catholic theology. And again in Italy, This is the first time I visited Italy, and visited it twice within a space of 2 months. It was an extraordinary seminar towards a new theory of consciousness, where we had some of the best philosophers, neuroscientists, computer scientists, AI people of the world, literally of the world. I mean, no exaggeration there. They were gathered together by a very interesting billionaire who is, if you Google him, you'll find him either as the philosopher billionaire or as the homeless billionaire, both of which are true in a certain sense. So there, I was thinking that the only philosophy which comes out of religion, which can find traction in such a group, would be Advaita Vedanta. Possibly something like Dzogchen Buddhism, that too. But nothing else. Everything else would be treated with disdain or amusement there. As, oh, this is religion, don't tell us about this stuff. But this was taken seriously. This was taken very seriously. So it is also I would say, the most logical, rational, most acceptable in this day and age, that kind of spirituality. It is also, I would say, eminently very universal. It really don't have to be a Hindu. It's entirely Hindu. It comes from Hinduism. There's no doubt about it. But it's so impersonal. At no place does it talk about, you have to subscribe to Hinduism or you have to convert into nothing like that. It's very universal. Anybody. It just talks about our real nature. If you're a human being, a sentient being, it's talking about who or what we truly are. I mean, there's really a lot to recommend it. But there is also something to be beware of. One is that even after all of this, what we will do, be careful of the temptation of neglecting the ethical life, spiritual practices. Advaita Vedanta does not give us a free pass. If our basic virtues are not in place, a clean and ethical and disciplined life, then no kind of spirituality will work for us, no matter how lofty it is, how sophisticated or subtle it is. Whether one can be good without God is open to debate, but one cannot definitely have God without being good. That nobody has any doubt about. So that's one. We must be careful about our moral life, our ethical life, and it's a struggle. Let's be open about it. Let's be realistic and honest about it. As long as the struggle continues to improve ourselves ethically, that's one box you can check. Second, again, do not neglect spiritual practices. Advaita Vedanta, what we will do, an immature reaction is, wow, this is what I was looking for. What's the point of going to a temple or a church or a mosque and praying? What's the point of meditating? No, you're asking for trouble. If we have regular spiritual practices, and we should have regular devotional practices, regular meditative practices, if you do some kind of ritualism, that's also good. A regular ritualistic practice, a regular practice of service to people who need it. The yogas, karma, bhakti and meditation, dhyana, one must go on doing all that. One only neglects that to one's own detriment. Then there's another temptation. These are all warnings, caveat, warning. Another temptation of looking down on other religions or philosophies. Now I have reached the peak of the Everest. That is true. It is lofty. I can't think of any other philosophy or any other view of human life which is so lofty, so exalted, so logical. I have all the arguments. I have got it. I have got the truth. And all of the rest is, it's kindergarten stuff. Advaita Vedanta is always very politically correct, so it will never say that something is false or something is wrong. No, they're all good. Just it's all helpful. It's all sort of kindergarten compared to what we have got here. Well, we should not have that attitude. Rather, it's good to have the attitude that all these paths, like Sri Ramakrishna would say, all these paths lead to the same truth. Just because you have got a philosophy which is matchless and extraordinarily scientific and or rigorous, logically rigorous, um, you know, compared to this, one might say the rest of all kinds of religions or practices are superstitions. But that attitude is not helpful, because in the end of it, it's what we have realized in our personal lives. Swami Vivekananda said, an ounce of practice is worth 20 tons of tall talk. So let's be humble that way. Advaita has a tendency, the first thing it takes away, before it takes away samsara, it takes away our humility. And yeah. So all paths lead to self-realization or God realization, because they are all trying to access that same reality. Then another temptation is argument. I know all the arguments, I know all the tricks, and I can convince you of my position, I can cut down your position, which you can. From an Advaitic perspective, you can. But again, that is a dangerous game to play. Just because you know all the arguments, you have all the subtle reasonings at your disposition, at your at your service, does not mean that one is particularly spiritual. One may have read all the books, memorized all the Sanskrit verses, and still be a pretty, as they say in America, you're still the same dude. So these are warnings. These are the caveat part of it. I remember this gentleman who was in a cottage next to me in the Himalayas. This was more than 20 years ago. And he had discovered the Ashtavakra Gita, one of the highest, most uncompromising texts of non-duality. And after reading that, he had made a beeline, went straight up to 10,000 feet. It was 12,000 feet in the mountains, 10,000 feet in the mountains. And he said to me, I was also reading the same book at the same time, so we got along very well, like a house on fire. But he said to me that, this is the real thing. All these days, I don't know, my guru, why did he not tell me about that? Now, I happen to know his guru, who is a wonderful monk, a very austere monk. And my guru is all about prayer and fasting and the Tulsi Puja, which Hindus do, worship of the sacred Tulsi plant. All that, what's all that for? That seems so kindergarten. And this is the truth. You should have told me about this. I said, well, where did you get this from? He said, well, I got it from my guru. And do you think he's read the book? He said, yeah, I guess so. And after that, all that, he still worships the Tulsi and he still keeps regular fasts. And yeah, he does that. So do you think he has not understood it, what the book says? So he scratched his head, and that gave him pause. It should give us pause too. Yes. So that's all, that is the caveat. Swami Vivekananda said, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to reach that, manifest the divinity already within us. Do it by philosophy, which is what we are going to do, or by meditation, or by love, or by service. He said by action, by work or action. By one or more or all of these, and be free. That is the whole of religion. Books, temples, doctrines, churches are secondary details. So I'm quoting directly from Vivekananda, famous quote from Vivekananda. So what we are doing here, why I'm giving these warnings, is it's a kind of a one-sided spirituality. It's my favorite. I'm sure it's a favorite for most people here also. That's why we are dwelling on it, but we should be careful. Keep the guardrails on. We are walking on a very high line indeed. So keep the guardrails on and be careful. How can you be careful? As Vivekananda says, by all of these. Instead of just philosophy, Instead of just this high non-dual philosophy, you add to it regular meditation, you add to it devotional worship, and you add to it service. Regular meditation, why? One is confronted with the nature of the mind in meditation. When we study this, we feel we have understood. But having understood something and being something, there's a gap between the two. And when we sit in meditation and we want the mind to do something very simple, like follow the breath, or repeat a mantra, or visualize a deity, we suddenly realize how little control we have over our minds. We suddenly realize what a madhouse is there in there. So it's good to confront the mind and slowly bring the mind under control and calm it down and still it. Devotional practice, why? It's a great, great help in life. As one sadhu said in Hindi, he said, "Bahut badi sahara hai Mahatma ji." Oh monk, it is a great support in life. Whoever you are, wherever you are, in the high Himalayas, in caves, here in Phoenix, even in the United States, in India, wherever in the world, you're in the world, have a job and a family, or you're a monk, or you're alone, you're retired, you're young, whatever you are, wherever you are, God is somebody. It's good to have God on your side. It's good to have God on your side. So devotional practice is very helpful, and it's It's really healthy too. Is there a chair? You can sit here. And finally, a life of service, where it could be, non-profit, it could be some kind of service in the ashram. It could just be the work that you do in the family, on the job, but offered up in a spirit of worship or service. Converting our our actions into spiritual practice. That's a very powerful thing. Do sit down. There's a chair right here. Come here. So Swami Vivekananda's recommendation was a harmony of the four yogas: Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Dhyana or Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga, Dhyana, meditation. That's a harmonious spiritual life. So, having said all that, the warnings and the precautions is a harmony of the four yogas. Swami Premeshanandaji, there was a very great monk long before my time, but he was a disciple of Ma Sharada, the Holy Mother, whose birthday, by the way, is next week. So he was regarded in his lifetime as an enlightened person. He has, among his works, there is an essay, very instructive essay, Yoga Vigna in Bengali, which means the obstacles in yoga. Yoga, by yoga, he has meant all these spiritual paths. If you read it, you feel like, good that I don't do any of the yogas. There's so many problems in each one. Yeah, he just says, for example, as a quick bird's eye view, so Jnana Yoga is the way of knowledge, which we are going to do for the next 2.5 days. He says that's all very good, but it often ends in dry intellectualism. Reading books, knowing the arguments, memorizing texts, and thinking that's it. But no, that is not it. That's one problem. In the path of meditation, it can often lead to a kind of selfishness. What is most important for me is my meditation, my peace of mind. And dare you disturb my peace of mind. I will not compromise with anybody, make any concessions to anybody. But life is not perfect. At inconvenient times, people will demand things of you. There will be disturbance. Maybe it's too hot or too cold. Maybe there are mosquitoes if you're in India. And people, maybe there's a family emergency. Maybe you're called up for the job. You don't have time or energy left over for meditation. Or you don't feel well. That's it. So there could be 101 obstacles in the path of meditation. And it's good to be broad and accepting. But it can lead to a kind of selfishness because my routine, and my peace of mind is most important. And then the third one, the devotional approach. It can often go into endless rituals, endless pujas, deity rooms, especially Hindu deity rooms. If you come in some devotees' homes, you will see it's like a museum. There's every deity that belonged to your grandparents, it's there, and every deity you found on your trips on pilgrimages or trips to some temple town, and in the market you found this deity, and they're all in your. And people have asked me that we have become nervous wrecks trying to worship all the deities together. And will this one be annoyed if I... Devotion to God is meant to help us, not to make us nervous wrecks. So Premeshanji says it can sometimes devolve into emotionalism. Person who is so full of devotion, at the drop of a hat they start shedding tears. That's a nervous weakness. That's not bhakti. That's not devotion. Or endless rituals, pujas, and food, more and more food. And then it becomes a huge distraction from spiritual life. So that's the danger. And karma yoga, it's a very obvious danger because it's good work. You are running a school or a hospital, but it becomes endless distraction. That I'm going on fundraising drives and endless meetings, and it becomes extrovertedness, busyness. And because it's all good work, who is to stop you? Everybody praises you that you're doing good work, after all. But it's actually at the cost of our spiritual life. I remember the first rough lesson I got on this. You see, the ways of the mind. One day in my early days in the monastery, after the evening prayers, I went to the office and was doing some kind of work. And at night we had to meet the abbot, the head of the monastery. We means the novices. And he said to me, "Why did I see the lights on in the office after the evening prayer?" I said, "Oh, Swami, I was there, I was doing this work or that work." He said, "Absolutely not. You go to your room after the prayers, you sit and meditate or study. I don't care if you sleep in your room, but you're not coming out of your room until the bell goes for the night meals." See, this extrovertedness, I want to be doing something or talking with people, doing this and that. No. He said, "I can't sit and quietly and meditate in my room." All right, but you're not coming out of your room. You're going to stay there. Nobody's going to see your face until it's time for the night meal. Now, that might sound very simple. No. Then one is confronted with the restless mind. So, karma yoga, that is the obstacle to karma yoga, restlessness, extrovertedness. So these are some of the obstacles you see in the 4 yogas. How do you overcome all that? Balance of all 4. If we have all 4 in our lives, yes, do good work as much as possible, great. But then this is time to stop. After this, you will meditate and study. You will withdraw from society. Yes, meditate. Good that you feel peace in meditation and you want to retreat. But no, when it's time for service, when it's time for the work that you have promised society, even if you don't feel like it, you have to come up and the aim is not the quietness of the mind, the aim is control of the mind. Don't let the mind be your master, let you be the master of the mind. Mind is a very, very good servant, a very terrible master. In the language of the Gita, the mind is our best friend, it's our worst enemy. The stilled mind is your best friend. The restless and chaotic mind is our worst enemy. And the path of inquiry, it's not just sentimental devotion. Oh, I love and I believe and that's it. No, one must know. One must realize for oneself. One must understand. One must have clarity. So philosophy, reasoning, inquiry will balance out the emotion and the devotion in bhakti. So each of them, they balance each other, and actually they are easier with all 4. Now what happens is, sometimes our tendency is towards one direction. That's why we tend to ignore the others. The others feel mechanical or they don't appeal to us. Remember, they don't appeal to us not because of any fault of those yogas. It's because our minds are constituted in a particular way. And we can only benefit, even if mechanically, as a matter of routine practice, we hold on to all our practices, our Vedantic studies and inquiries, our regular meditation, our devotional practices, and our service. All of them, they make for a healthy and complete spiritual life, and they make each of them easier if we do all of them together. What else? Oh, we have run up. Is this?
It's wrong.
It's wrong. It's 1 hour behind. What's the time now? 8. It's 8 o'clock. Keep this here. Oh yes, in class, you all know, but keep the mobile phones silenced. All right, with all these disclaimers, downers, instead of advertising, I am playing it down and discouraging you. Now we can do a little bit of Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda would introduce Vedanta with these rousing words. Shrinvantu vishve amritasya putraha aye dhamani divyani tastu vedaham purusham mahantam aditya varnam tamasah parastat tameva viditva ati mrityumeti nanyah pantha vidyate ayanaya. Very soaring, glorious words. What do they mean? Listen, ye children of immortal bliss. And we are basically children of death. One thing is that certain in our lives is we are all going to die. And yet here the Upanishads say that you are children of immortal bliss. You are immortal. Listen to this message, which even the gods in heavens, gods with small g, they do not know. Even these supposedly superhuman beings, they do not know this truth. This is what is being taught to us, the highest spiritual truth. What is that? I have realized that infinite being. What's it like? Aditya Varnam, shining like the sun. Not with a physical light like this, the light of consciousness. Shining like the sun. And forever beyond darkness. Forever beyond darkness means beyond the darkness of death and sorrow and limitation and misery and lack of fulfillment. Fear. Forever beyond the darkness of fear and anxiety. There is such a thing. Okay, suppose it's there. So what if you realize it, if you experience it? Having known that, one goes beyond death. Tameva viditva ati mrityumeti. One goes beyond death. So that is the goal, the purpose of it all. One goes beyond death. Nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya. There is no other path. Isn't there any other path to beat death? Some technological goal? They're seriously considering this in Silicon Valley. Can we upload ourselves to the cloud? No, they're really one of the discussions, some of the top minds of our time. I'm not at liberty to name all of them. One of the discussions or challenges thrown to us, what constitutes a successful upload? And you have to, successful upload of a human being. And you have to understand, this is not just a thought experiment. There are literally hundreds of millions of dollars at this time riding on this question. So, is any other way? The Upanishad is unambiguous. There is no other way. It tells us that we already are. Vedanta has this incredible thing that the solution to all the problems is already there within us. It's our real nature. It is you. But it's just that we don't know it. It's just that we don't realize it. If you know it, if you realize it, if you can make it somehow a living truth. Right now, what's our living truth? Our living truth is I am this. This is my living truth. If this other thing which we are talking about, Atman, Brahman, pure consciousness, limitless existence, consciousness, bliss, Satchidananda, if it's true, if it's there right now, if there is some way which we could make that our living truth instead of this, then our purpose would be accomplished. What would be the purpose? Realizing which one, even the heaviest of sorrows will not shake you. Having attained which, nothing further remains to be attained. Nothing greater than that remains to be attained. These are the words of Krishna. He says to Arjuna, Yasmin stito dukkhena guruna api na vichalyate. Even the heaviest sorrows will not shake you if you are centered in this reality, in your own reality. Which also interestingly means life will continue. Heaviest of sorrows will not shake you. That means it's not that magically life will become somehow, you're transported to heaven or something like that. Game over. No, not like that. You just have to look at the lives of the saints. Their lives will continue to be as they were. In fact, maybe more difficult also afterwards. They went to some real challenges with saints in various religious traditions. And yam labdva na chaparam labham manyate tato adhikam. Having attained which, no other gain seems more than this. So this is that self-realization. And the amazing thing is, it's not something that you have to get from outside. It's something that you already possess. Sri Ramakrishna's famous story of the diamond, of the washerman, Indian washerman, Dhobi, who went to wash clothes and he found a diamond, a great big diamond. He didn't know what it was, being an uneducated person. He thought it's just a pretty stone with which to scrub dirty laundry. And that's what he would do with it, scrub dirty laundry. But he knew it was a strange stone, not like anything else. So he goes and asks, by the way, this is a very profound parable. I told this parable to a gathering of some of the most brilliant minds I've ever met in my life. There's so many nuances to it. The diamond was with the washerman, and the diamond is with us. It is you, our real nature, that infinite sun-like brilliance, that pure consciousness which we are. So it's already there, and it's already there with us. Second, the washerman didn't know what the diamond was, and we don't know what it is. It's there. We are even aware of it right now, but we don't know what it is. He thought it was a stone, just like the other stones, and we think it's just life. That's what we are. Nothing more than this. Christoph Koch, one of the leading neuroscientists of the world, he was there for that conference. One of his latest books on neuroscience is on consciousness. He calls it the feeling of life itself. Just this feeling of being alive. We are seeing and we are hearing, we are talking, we are enjoying, suffering, waking, dreaming, sleeping. This is our life. This is consciousness. And the washerman was actually using that diamond. He was scrubbing dirty laundry, and we are using it. We are using it to see, and we are using it to taste the food we are using it to hear right now. We are using it to be awake or sleeping. Whatever we do, we are using that diamond, but we are using it to scrub dirty laundry, not at its full value. And yet we are also, he did not know what it was. The washerman did not know what it was, and he was curious. We don't know what it is. That's why we are curious. That's why we have conferences on consciousness in Venice. Consciousness studies, big deal nowadays, hard problem of consciousness. It is the washerman curious about that diamond, about what we have. We find it, the brain and consciousness. And on one hand, we take it to be, okay, what's the big deal? The kidney does something, the liver does something else, the heart does something else, and the brain does something. It's all part of a living being. What's the big deal? On the other hand, we think it's also a big deal because we don't understand this consciousness. We don't understand this diamond. So finally, this washerman goes to his friend, the vegetable seller, who doesn't know much more than the washerman. And the vegetable seller says, yeah, it's a pretty diamond. I'll give you 10 rupees for it, or maybe 1 cent for it, or something like that. The washerman doesn't sell it to him, luckily. He says, let me ask somebody else. Similarly, you go to the neuroscientist and say, yeah, consciousness, what's the big deal? It's just the brain producing consciousness. The consciousness is just the brain, that's all. Don't sell it to the neuroscientist. Then you will miss its real value. Be like the washerman, keep pushing. Finally, the story ends with the washerman going to the diamond merchant, who says, wow, this is the most brilliant, the biggest raw uncut diamond I've ever seen in my life. I'll give you 10 million. In the Indian story, it is 10 lakh or 10 crore, depending on inflation where you are. 10 million rupees for it, and all the poverty of the washerman was removed forever, and he was fulfilled, and so on. And he had to sell the diamond, but in our case, we don't have to sell the diamond. We just have to know its value. The moment we know what it is, that is we attain to that, after which the heaviest of sorrows cannot shake you. Having attained to which, nothing higher remains to be attained. You attain to what all the great enlightened masters throughout history, in different spiritual traditions, in different ways, they have attained to it. They have touched it in some way or the other. This, no less than this, is our goal in next 3 days. Vedanta is the diamond merchant. Vedanta is the diamond merchant who we have bought our diamond to the Vedanta. What is the diamond? Our self. And Vedanta will look at us and tell us, it's not yourself. You are not the body. You are not even the mind. You are not even the person. This person. There's something deeper right here about you, which is most extraordinary. That old saying, which I love, what is behind you and what is yet ahead of you is as nothing compared to what is within you. Our whole life is about what's behind us and what's ahead of us. If you're a little kid, I've noticed little kids, how old are you? He said, I'm almost 6. You won't say I'm 5. But by the time they are say 16 or 17, they lose that. You'll hardly hear a 21-year-old say, I'm almost 22. No. Then it starts again when you reach 50 or 60. You start reducing the age. Yeah. So you're not the body. You're not the mind, not this person. We are so fascinated by what was behind us, or what is ahead of us. Little kids are eager about what's ahead of us. I'm almost 6. Older people are lost in what was behind us. But none of it is equal to what is within us. What is within us? Not physically. Within us, if you look physically, it's all the gooey, sticky stuff inside. No. It's not even psychologically within us. Not what the therapist can reveal to you. Not even that. Not even that. Not the physical within, not the psychological within. It's the spiritual within. And and again, it's not particularly subtle. It's an overwhelming reality, as we shall see. So Vedanta is the diamond merchant which will introduce us to what is within us. Over the next 3 days, we will see this one, what is within us. The aim will be to get a knowledge of this pure consciousness, Atman, Brahman, whatever it is. Knowledge, yes, knowledge in the sense of the knowledge of it, which we get by reading books and stuff. We'll get knowledge of this. The aim will be to get a feel for it. Not just knowledge, also a feel for it. An intuitive feel for it, an experiential aspect of that knowledge. So I call it an experiential knowledge. The difference being, experience, are you experiencing this room? You will all say yes. Before we came here to the Spirit in the Desert, we may have looked it up online or read a brochure about it. So we had knowledge about it, but we couldn't say that we are experiencing it. So I will experience it when I'm there. So there's a gap between our knowledge and experience. Sometimes we have knowledge but no experience until we get there. We experience it for ourselves. Sometimes the other way around. We have experience but no knowledge. When we were kids, we always thought the sun would rise in the east and set in the west. Then we read in our school that, no, it's not the sun rising and setting, it's the earth going round. So we are experiencing, and afterwards also we are experiencing the same thing, but now we have knowledge about it. What we are going to do here, Vedanta is experiential knowledge. It is knowledge, it's also experience at the same time. This meditation, it helps us to bridge this gap. Also, this meditation will help us to actualize it, to make it a fact in our lives. It is something to be done by ourselves, within ourselves. In that book which we are going to take up, only a tiny portion of that book. It's 580 verses, nearly 600 verses. It's one of the most well-known classics of Advaita Vedanta. Yes, at the top, at the source, or at the bottom are the Upanishads. They're the source, the foundation. Based on that, you have the Bhagavad Gita, and there's also a text called the Brahma Sutras. So this is the triple foundation of Vedanta. We all know that, the so-called Prasthanatraya, the triple foundation of Vedanta. But there is a vast literature of Advaita Vedanta. And in that, I would suggest the first and most well-known book which comes to mind would be this one, which you have in your hands, Vivekacudamani. Out of all those verses, we just take up 10 verses, which are meditation verses. Beautiful, very poetic verses, and we will study that. And the goal there is to get a feel for this, both knowledge and experience at the same time. In that book, towards the beginning, Sankaracarya, he makes it a point that it's all about you and it depends on you. He says, Rinamochana kartaraha bandhamochana kartara in Sanskrit. It says, who sets you free from a debt? He says, your children will maybe pay off your debts. It's the other way around now. I think the parents pay off the college debts for the kids. But whatever it is. But your bondage, who will set you free from the bondage? Only you have to set yourself free from the bondage. Your children can't set you free from the bondage. The second example Shankaracharya gives is of a heavy load on your head. Somebody else can carry the load for you. Or you can put it down on But he says that so this load somebody else can carry for you. But he says, suppose one has, what's that example he uses? One example he uses is of the disease. So, he says, this bondage, the spiritual practices, nobody can carry that for you. You have to do it for yourself. And the third example he uses is of medicine and diet for a patient. Unless that patient takes the medicines and follows the diet, the disease will not be cured. So 3 examples he gives. It has to be very personal. The definition of enlightenment is very precise in Advaita Vedanta. There is no ambiguity about it. The definition of enlightenment is Aham Brahmasmi Ityakara Jnanam. The realization that I am Brahman. Right now our realization is, I am this. I am Sarvapriyanan, I am this guy. And enlightenment would be, I am Brahman. I am limitless consciousness. I am not at all a body. I am aware of a body. I am not even the mind. I am aware of the presence and the activity of the mind, but I am neither of these. Just as I have outer garments and inner garments, similarly I have a body and a mind, but I am neither of them. This clarity, that I am not these, and I am limitless consciousness, limitless existence, not as rhetoric, not as a formula, not as a slogan to be repeated, but as a fact, an effortless, choicelessly present, instantaneously available fact, then you are enlightened. And this has to be very personal. How to make it personal? Okay, I'll end with this. This is something I like, very simple thing. I heard it from a monk. Like he says, when you ask a child, what is a nose? The child will not say, oh, it is the organ of respiration and olfactory sense organ. The child might say that if it's been made to memorize. But if you ask a child generally, the child will say, this is a nose. Here. And the monk said, this is how you practice Vedanta. Make it utterly personal. Make it real. Keep it real. Yeah, the American slogan of keep it real. That is a really good way of practicing Vedanta. When you say the body, don't conceive of the body. Oh, there is a physical body. No, this is it. Here. It's so real. When you say the mind, okay, look inside. Your thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories. That's the mind. It's right here. When people, in Vedantic terms, physical body, subtle body, people think subtle body, that sounds very occult, it sounds very fancy. No, no, it's just what we all have right now, all the time. The subtle body is that part which is that part of your being right now. One part of it is what I can see, what other people can see. Your body, your behavior, they can hear your language, what your expressions, that's the physical part of you. But there is a psychic, a psychological, an inner part of our lives. That's a subtle body, which we are all aware of, others are not aware of it. Your first person, personal, private experience of yourself. My own thoughts, my emotions, my attitudes, my memories, my desires, my grudges. So all of that, that is my subtle body. It's a body, it's not even you. So like that, keep it real. If I say the mind, yeah, look at, that's what he's talking about. This is the mind. Like that. And when you keep it real, at one point you will see, it suddenly strikes. Oh, this is what they were talking about. And when it strikes, I'm almost sure it will do so for all of us in this retreat. When it strikes, after that begins a process of exploration. Once we have made the discovery of the diamond, then we begin to explore its value. This exploration of the value, staying with that diamond, is what we will do in the next 3 days. But if we keep it, we make it personal, keep it real, then it will be experiential. Otherwise, it will be a lot of very nice, fancy, clever philosophy, which is also nice, which is also worthwhile, a good way of spending time in this beautiful place. It matches the spirit of the desert, it matches the spirit of Vedanta. But it's much more valuable if you can keep it real, like the nose. In Calcutta, last year I was giving a talk, Vedanta, the usual kind of talk I gave. In the Q&A, one lady comes forward very indignantly, and she was waiting to be the first to ask these questions. So she came forward and said, Swami, all this is good, but it's all very theoretical. And I said, Madam, not one thing I've said is theoretical. That you are standing here right now, is it theory or is it fact? He said, yeah, it's a fact. That you are thinking right now, all this is theory, that's a thought. That thought, is it a fact or is it theory? It's a fact. Like that, step by step. Not any of it is theoretical. People make there are very subtle points, and people make this mistake that, yeah, I know it's not theoretical, but only for an enlightened person. For me, it's theoretical. I have to do a lot of practices and then it will become real for me. No, 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 no. Vedanta is saying it's already real for you. You do not see. Yeah. So we will try to keep it real. Make an effort to keep it real. And it's a nice place to do that. There is a spirit to this place, the spirit in the desert. There is a certain mystical touch to this place here. All right, let me do a peace chant, and then we'll come back tomorrow. And the talks will be structured in two kinds of talks. One is the Vedantic talks, which will be intense, talk combined with meditation, and there will be Q&A. And there will be informal sessions where you'll get the schedule. There will be informal sessions where it will be more broad-based. It won't just be non-duality. It will be more broad-based spirituality. And there we can talk and discuss. I will say a few things, you say whatever you want. Those informal sessions, I think they're titled satsang. Yeah. So that's more relaxed. The others, the classes, they are entirely from the Vivekacudamani, and we are going to go through 10 of those verses. Okay, peace chant. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu